The deep hum of the Stellar Horizons engines filled the bridge as Commander Lisa Wright watched the strange planet grow larger on the main screen. The red surface of Kepler 186 looked like a giant rust ball floating in space. After 5 months of travel, they were finally about to land on this dead world. "Commander, I'm picking up those energy signals again," Peter Carter said from his science station. His dark eyes were fixed on the glowing screens in front of him. "They're coming from that large structure we spotted from orbit." Lisa leaned forward in her chair. "Show me." The screen changed to display a huge building, half buried in red sand. Even mostly covered, it was clearly not natural. Someone had built it. The ship landed half a mile from the structure. Lisa led the first team out onto the surface. The sky above them was a dark purple color, and 2 small moons hung low on the horizon. Their boots left clear prints in the red dust as they walked toward the building. "This place is old," Peter said through the radio in their protective suits. He held up a scanner that made quiet beeping sounds. "Really old. Maybe 100,000 years, at least." They reached the building's entrance. It was a huge doorway, 3 times taller than a person. Strange marks covered its surface. They looked like writing, but not from any alien language they had seen before. Inside, their lights showed long hallways made of a black metal that seemed to eat the light. More of the strange writing covered the walls. It wasn't all the same. There were different types, like someone had written the same thing over and over in different languages. "Commander," Peter's voice suddenly got louder. "You need to see this." He was standing in front of a large wall at the end of the main hallway. His light showed something that made Lisa's heart beat faster. Among all the alien writing was a picture of Earth. "Can you read any of it?" Lisa asked, moving closer to the wall. Peter pointed his scanner at the writing. "Some of it matches languages we know from other ruins. It's a warning, Commander." He moved his scanner slowly across the wall. "They're all warnings. Every single one, in every language." "Warnings about what?" "About Earth." Peter's voice was shaking a little now. "They're telling others to stay away from Earth. But that's not the strangest part." He touched one of the symbols. "They keep mentioning something about guarding or protecting, like Earth is some kind of prison." Lisa felt a cold feeling in her stomach. "You mean these aliens weren't afraid of us?" "No." Peter looked at her through his helmet's clear front. "They were afraid of something else. Something they thought Earth was keeping locked away." Lisa stared at the wall of warnings. All these different alien civilizations, all of them leaving the same message about her home planet. What could be so dangerous that it scared species advanced enough to travel between stars? "Send all of this to the ship's computers," she ordered. "And get me a secure connection to Earth Command. They need to know what we found here." As they worked, the purple light from outside fell through holes in the ceiling, making the warnings on the wall seem to glow. Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled onto something big, something that would change everything they thought they knew about Earth's place in the galaxy. Dr. Catherine Morris sat in her dimly lit office at the Interstellar Archaeological Institute, surrounded by holographic displays of alien writing. Her eyes were tired from looking at the symbols for hours, but she couldn't stop. Something about these messages bothered her. The data from the Stellar Horizons discovery had arrived 3 days ago. Since then, she hadn't left her office much. She kept comparing the new warnings to other alien messages they had found over the last 10 years. "Computer, show me the ruins from Alpha Centauri again," she said, rubbing her eyes. A new image appeared, showing more alien writing. As she looked at it, her hands began to shake. "Frank," she called out. "Frank, get in here." Frank Martinez rushed into her office, holding a cup of coffee. "What is it? Did you find something?" Catherine pointed at the displays floating around her. "Look at these. All of them. The messages from Proxima Centauri, the ruins on Mars, the signals we picked up from the TRAPPIST system. Now add in what Lisa and her team just found." She pressed some buttons, and all the alien writings appeared side by side. Frank's coffee cup dropped from his hand, spilling on the floor. Nobody noticed. "They're all the same," he whispered. "Exactly." Catherine stood up and walked through the holographic displays. "Every dead civilization we found in the past decade left the same warning. Some wrote it in stone, others in metal, some even encoded it in radio signals. But they all said the same thing about Earth." Frank moved closer to one of the displays. But why? What were they so afraid of? Catherine pulled up another image, a very old star map. "That's the interesting part. Look at the dates we found on these ruins. The oldest ones are from nearly 1,000,000 years ago. The newest ones," she pointed to the data from the stellar horizon, "those are from just 50,000 years ago. So different aliens were leaving these warnings for almost 1,000,000 years." "Yes." Catherine's voice got quiet. "And in all that time, none of them ever attacked Earth. These civilizations had huge ships, powerful weapons. They could travel between stars. But instead of attacking us, they just left warnings and disappeared." Frank sat down heavily in a chair. "They were afraid of something. Something worse than anything they could fight." Catherine nodded. "And whatever it was, they thought it was on Earth, or in it." She pulled up an image of Earth's core from their newest deep scanning satellites. "Look at these readings. There's something strange about Earth's magnetic field. It's always been a bit stronger than it should be, but nobody knew why." Frank leaned forward. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe Earth isn't just our home." Catherine stared at the image of her planet. "Maybe it's a prison. And maybe humans aren't the inmates. We're the guards." Just then, her computer beeped with an urgent message. More data was coming in from other exploration ships. They had found more ruins, more warnings, all saying the same thing. "Send everything to the Science Council," Catherine said to Frank. "And get me a call with Commander Wright on the stellar horizon. She needs to know what we found." As Frank left her office, Catherine looked again at all the warnings floating around her. For the first time, she understood why so many advanced civilizations had chosen to die out rather than come near Earth. They knew something that humans were only now beginning to learn. Daniel Walsh sat at his science station on the stellar horizon, studying the latest data from Earth. Next to him, Amy Peterson worked on translating more of the alien languages they had found. Neither of them had slept much in the past 2 days. "I think I've got it," Amy said suddenly, her voice excited. The translation program finally cracked the oldest language from the wall. "You won't believe what it says." Daniel moved his chair closer to her screen. The ancient symbols were slowly changing into English words. As he read them, his face grew pale. "We need to call Commander Wright," he said, reaching for the ship's communication panel. "Right now." 10 minutes later, Commander Lisa Wright stood in the ship's meeting room with Daniel, Amy, and the rest of the science team. The translation filled the main screen behind them. "Read it again," Lisa said, her voice tight. Out loud this time. Amy stood up and began to read. "To all who find this warning, stay away from the blue world called Earth. It is not what you think. The creatures who live there are not the danger. They are the guards, though they do not know it. Deep beneath their feet sleeps something ancient, something that must never wake up." The room was silent for a moment. Then Daniel spoke up. "There's more, Commander. Dr. Morris sent us new data from Earth. The deep core scans are showing something strange." He pushed some buttons, and a new image appeared on the screen. It showed the inside of Earth, but something was wrong. At the very center, where there should only be metal and rock, there was a space, and in that space, something was moving. "How long has that been there?" Lisa asked. "According to the data." Daniel checked his notes. "About 4 billion years, since before the first life appeared on Earth." Amy pulled up more translations on another screen. "The warnings all talk about it. They say it came from somewhere else, somewhere far away. The oldest civilizations in our galaxy found it and tried to destroy it. When they couldn't, they looked for a place to hide it. They chose Earth, Lisa said quietly. Yes. Amy pointed to more translated text. They put it deep inside our planet when Earth was still young. Then they waited to see what would happen. What grew up on the surface? Us, Daniel said. Humans grew up. But according to these translations, we didn't just happen. We were shaped. Lisa turned to him. What do you mean, shaped? The thing they buried in Earth's core. It gives off energy. Special energy that changes living things, makes them stronger, more aggressive, makes them want to fight and survive. Daniel looked at his hands. Everything that made humans different from other animals, our drive to fight, to build weapons, to protect our territory, it all came from being close to that thing for millions of years. So humans evolved to be warriors, Amy finished, guards. Our whole planet is a prison, and every aggressive thing about human nature was designed to make us better guards. We're not violent because something went wrong with our evolution. We're violent because we were made to protect the rest of the galaxy from something worse. Just then, alarms started going off all over the ship. Daniel rushed to his station. Commander, he called out, his voice shaking. We're picking up new readings from Earth's core. The thing down there, it's moving more than usual. I think it might be waking up. Lisa stared at the screen showing Earth's core. For the first time in her life, she felt afraid of her own planet and what might be stirring inside it. Dr. Susan Cooper walked through the quiet halls of the Earth Defense Command Center. In her hands, she held a tablet showing humanity's entire history in a new light. Everything made sense now. All the wars, all the fighting, all the endless drive to become stronger. She pushed open the door to the main conference room. Inside, military leaders and scientists from around the world sat waiting. Their faces looked tired and worried. Tell us what you found, Dr. Cooper, said General Richards, his voice heavy with concern. Susan connected her tablet to the room's main screen. Images of human DNA appeared, along with strange energy patterns from Earth's core. Look at this, she said, pointing to the DNA. This isn't natural evolution. Our DNA has been changed, shaped by something. The energy coming from Earth's core has been affecting us for millions of years. She switched to different images, showing ancient human battles, weapons, and defenses. Everything that made humans special, our ability to fight, our drive to protect our territory, our quick thinking in danger. It was all guided by the thing buried in Earth's core. You mean we were designed to be warriors? Asked one of the scientists. Not exactly designed, Susan replied. More like shaped, like clay being slowly formed by invisible hands. She showed a new image of Earth's magnetic field. The energy from the core affected which traits survived in early humans. Generation after generation, it made us stronger, more aggressive, more protective. General Richards leaned forward. But why? Why would aliens want humans to be this way? Because they needed guards, Susan said quietly. Think about it. What's the best way to protect something? You could build walls, set up weapons, create automatic defenses, but those things can break down. What you really need are living guards who can think, adapt, and fight back. She showed a timeline of human history. Look at how we act. Humans are territorial. We build walls and defenses anywhere we live. We create weapons even when we don't need them. We're always preparing for attacks, always ready to fight. You're saying we evolved to be prison guards, another scientist said. Yes, but that's not all. Susan pulled up data from the stellar horizon. The thing in Earth's core, it doesn't just affect our bodies. It affects our minds too. Humans have always felt like we need to protect Earth, like we need to stay here and keep others away. We thought it was just love for our home planet. But it wasn't. No, it was programming built into our DNA over millions of years. The energy from the core made us want to stay, made us want to protect this place. Even when we started exploring space, we always came back. always kept our strongest defenses pointed at Earth. General Richards stood up slowly. So everything that other species saw as our worst traits, our violence, our territorial nature, our suspicion of outsiders, were exactly what the ancient aliens wanted. Susan finished. They needed guards who would fight to protect Earth no matter what. Guards who would keep building stronger weapons, who would always be ready for an attack. Guards who would never abandon their post. Just then, the room's emergency lights started flashing red. A young officer burst through the door. "General," he shouted, "we're detecting massive energy spikes from the core. Something's happening down there. Something big." Susan looked at her readings. The thing they had been unknowingly guarding for millions of years was finally making its move. And now they had to decide. Would knowing their true purpose make them better guards or worse ones? Greg Matthews stared at the computer screens in front of him, his hands shaking as he read the numbers. The energy levels from Earth's core were higher than anything they had ever seen before. Behind him, Captain Laura Bennett paced back and forth in the underground monitoring station. "How bad is it?" Laura asked, stopping to look over his shoulder. "Bad." Greg pointed to a chart that kept climbing higher. "The energy patterns are changing. Whatever's down there, it's not just moving anymore. It's waking up." The monitoring station's walls trembled slightly. Deep underground, something shifted. The lights flickered. "Can we stop it?" Laura's voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. Greg shook his head. "I don't think so. Not now. Look at these readings." He showed her another screen. "The thing down there, it's been gathering energy for millions of years. All that time we thought Earth's core was just hot metal and rock. It was actually charging up," Laura finished, "like a giant battery." The room shook again, harder this time. Alarms started going off in other parts of the station. Greg's phone buzzed with messages from other scientists around the world. They were all seeing the same thing. "Captain," a young operator called from another station, "we're getting reports of earthquakes. Small ones, but they're happening everywhere at once, all over the planet." Laura grabbed the main communication mic. "This is Captain Bennett. I need a direct line to Earth Defense Command. Now." While they waited for the connection, Greg pulled up more data on his screens. The images made his blood run cold. The empty space they had found in Earth's core was getting bigger. The thing inside was spreading out, pushing against the rock and metal around it. "It's been planning this," he said quietly. "All those millions of years, while it made us stronger, made us better guards, it was also getting stronger itself." The main screen lit up with the face of General Richards. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Captain Bennett," he said, "please tell me you have good news." Laura looked at Greg's screens before answering. "No, sir. It's worse than we thought. The entity in the core, it's not just awake. It's trying to get out." More tremors shook the room. One of the monitors cracked. "How long do we have?" the general asked. Greg checked his calculations. "Hours, maybe. Whatever the ancient aliens locked away down there, it's not going to stay locked much longer." Laura straightened her uniform. "Sir, we need to tell everyone. The whole world needs to know what's happening." "Agreed." General Richards looked off-screen for a moment, giving orders to someone. "But what do we tell them?" "That Earth is a prison and something's about to break out." "We tell them the truth," Laura said firmly. "Humans aren't just random animals who got lucky. We're warriors, guards. We were made for this moment." The ground shook again. In the distance, they could hear emergency sirens starting to wail. "Whatever's down there," Laura continued, "the ancient aliens thought it was too dangerous to kill, too dangerous to let live. So they locked it away and created us to guard it. Now it's trying to escape, and we're the only thing standing in its way." Greg looked at his screens one last time. The energy levels from the core were still rising. Soon, the thing that humans had guarded for millions of years without knowing would show itself, and humanity would have to make a choice: run away like the other aliens did, or stand and fight like they were made to do. Dr. John Harrison stood before the emergency meeting of the United Nations. On the large screens behind him, red dots showed earthquakes happening all over the world. Every few minutes, another dot would appear. The room was filled with scared faces and worried whispers. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice strong despite his fear. "What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but every word is true." He pressed a button on his remote. The screen showed images from the alien ruins, the warnings about Earth, and the strange readings from the planet's core. Humanity has been living on top of the most dangerous prison in the galaxy. We are not the prisoners. We are the guards. And now, what we've been guarding is trying to escape. The room erupted in shocked voices. A woman in the front row stood up. "How can we be guards if we never knew about this?" "Because that was the plan," John explained. "The ancient aliens who built this prison needed guards who would never give up, never run away. They needed guards who would fight to protect Earth without even knowing why." He showed them the DNA studies, the energy patterns that had shaped human evolution. Everything that made humans different from other species. Our aggression, our need to protect our territory, our drive to build better weapons. It was all part of our programming as guards. More earthquakes appeared on the map. The room shook slightly. "So what do we do now?" someone asked. "Now that we know the truth." John took a deep breath. "That's why I'm here. We have to make a choice. The thing in Earth's core is waking up. It's stronger than it's ever been. We can do what other alien species did, try to run away and hide. Or we can do what we were made to do, stand and fight." The screens changed to show military forces gathering around the world. Ships, planes, and ground forces were all moving into position. "But how do we fight something inside the Earth?" another person asked. "We have a plan," John said. He showed them new images, huge machines being built at key points around the planet. These devices can focus Earth's magnetic field, turn it into a weapon. But using them might destroy much of our world, and we don't even know if they'll work. The room fell silent. Everyone could feel what was at stake. "The ancient aliens ran away because they were afraid," John continued. "They built this prison, locked away this thing they couldn't kill, and then they ran. But we're different. We were made for this moment. Every war we fought, every weapon we built, every battle in human history, it was all training for right now." Another tremor shook the building, stronger this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. "We don't have much time," John said. "The entity is pushing against its prison walls. Soon, it will break free. When it does, we'll be the only thing standing between it and the rest of the galaxy." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of world leaders and representatives. Other species ran away from this fight, but running away isn't in our DNA. We were made to be guardians. The question is, now that we know what we are, will we run? Or will we do what humans have always done? Stand our ground and fight. The room was quiet except for the low rumble of the Earth. Humanity's moment of choice had come, and deep below their feet, an ancient evil continued to push against its chains. Commander Lisa Wright stood on the bridge of the stellar horizon, watching Earth on the main screen. The planet looked different now. Streams of strange energy could be seen flowing around it, like glowing rivers in space. Every few minutes, another earthquake would make the surface tremble. "All stations report ready," Peter Carter said from his post. "The magnetic field focusing devices are powered up worldwide." Lisa nodded. In the week since humanity had learned the truth about their planet and their purpose, they had worked faster than ever before. Every country, every military, every scientist had come together with one goal: to keep their prisoner locked away. "Status of the entity?" she asked. "Still growing stronger," Peter replied. "The energy readings from the core are off the charts. Dr. Harrison says we have maybe an hour before it breaks free." Lisa touched the command console in front of her. The stellar horizon, along with 50 other ships, formed a ring around Earth. They weren't running away. They were the last line of defense. "Commander," Amy Peterson called from her station. "Message from Earth Defense Command. They're ready to start." The plan was dangerous. They would use the focusing devices to turn Earth's magnetic field into a weapon. The same energy that had shaped humans into warriors would now be used to fight back against the thing they had guarded for so long. "Tell them we're in position," Lisa ordered. "Start the countdown." On Earth's surface, huge machines hummed to life. They began pulling at the planet's magnetic field, bending it, strengthening it. The glowing rivers of energy in space grew brighter. Suddenly, all their sensors went crazy. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. "It's making its move," Peter shouted. "The entity, it's breaking through." The surface of Earth cracked in several places, but instead of lava or rock, strange dark energy poured out. It looked like living shadows, reaching toward space. "All ships, hold position," Lisa commanded. "This is what we were made for. This is our purpose." The focusing devices fired. Beams of magnetic energy shot from Earth's surface, catching the dark entity as it tried to escape. The battle that humanity had been preparing for across millions of years began. The entity fought back. It sent waves of terror washing over the planet, trying to make humans run away like all the other species had done. But something was different now. "We're not running," Lisa said firmly. "Humanity knows what it is now. We're not just accidental guards anymore. We choose this. We choose to stand." All around Earth, humans made the same choice. The terror waves hit their minds, but couldn't shake their resolve. In every city, in every country, humans stood their ground. The focusing devices grew stronger, powered by the determination of 7 billion guards who now knew their true purpose. The entity screamed, a sound that echoed in everyone's minds. But still, humanity didn't run. The magnetic field weapons pushed harder. The dark energy began to retreat, forced back into its prison by the very power that had created its guards. Hours later, when the last traces of the entity had been forced back into Earth's core, Lisa looked at her homeworld again. The surface was damaged, but they had won. More importantly, they had chosen to win. "Send a message to Earth Command," she said. "Tell them Operation Guardian is a success. And tell them to start building better defenses. Now that we know what we are, we're going to be much better guards than before." The Stellar Horizons crew cheered. Around the world, humans celebrated. They had faced the greatest threat in the galaxy and stood firm. The ancient aliens had created them to be guards, but in the end, humanity had chosen to be guardians. And that made all the difference.